Good morning and welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be going over the top 5 items that are unobtainable in WoW. Now just stick around and enjoy the video. Coming in at number 1 we have CRAFTY'S pole. Now CRAFTY'S pole is a legendary item that only GMs can get a hold of. Now this item gives you plus 1000 fishing. With 1000 fishing, your fishing level does not actually matter, so to speak. Having this item attached would grant you the ability to not lose any of the fish that you are farming up, and it was merely used for GMs and testers in order to basically see if the fish would actually catch or not, and or check out the nodes in order to do. This is one of the types of items that only developers would have created in order to test out different type of fishing capabilities and negating the entire fishing skill completely by adding 1000 fishing skill, so you would never lose the fish, so to speak, and see if it actually worked in the game. Now this item is obviously unobtainable, as this is an unobtainables list, and you can find them on private servers and use the item, so to speak. Now these days in BFA it doesn't really equate for all that much. In vanilla this would have equated to quite a lot, and this would have helped out majorly if we were able to get a hold of this type of fishing pole. Unfortunately so, you cannot get a hold of this, and thus this is why it makes it at number 1 on this list. Coming in at number 2, we have a curious item of the Pirate's Patch. Now the Pirate's Patch is an eye patch type design for your helm. Now this item was in the game code from way back in vanilla, and this gives you the aesthetic on your face of an eye patch across your face, so to speak. So such like the monocles, you would just gain a pirate's eye patch, so to speak. And this item never actually made it into the game. This item was still in the game files upon launch, but at the end of the day you still cannot get a hold of this item. But I would have loved to have been able to be a pirate back when it actually originally released. Imagine if this item was actually obtainable when it actually made it into live. Unfortunately so, this never actually made it into the game, and thus it would have been a cool reward. I actually thought of if you did it with the Bloodsail Buccaneers upon release in vanilla. This item would have been quite the type of item to get a hold of if you wanted to go for Exalted with the Bloodsail Buccaneers. You get that as the Exalted thing, so you could be the only guy who has done the massive grind in order to get Exalted with the Bloodsail Buccaneers, but along with that, being able to get a hold of the eye patch, so to speak. Now, other than that, this item is obviously unobtainable, as I previously mentioned with the other item, and thus this item is not able to be getting a hold of in game. Now, this item would have made an amazing type of aesthetic choice in order to play your character, but unfortunately so, I would have had an amazing pirate transmog set up if I was able to have this. This is also obtainable to get a hold of on private servers, but on the retail and in classic you are unable to get a hold of this item and thus wear it. Which brings me into number 3. Now number 3 kicks off this list quite a considerable amount from the other 2 items, because those were just unobtainable items, full stop. Now the Bengal Tiger mount, on the other hand, was a massive controversial piece in the game of WoW. Now, originally in vanilla, some data mining was dug up, and it actually specified on where to get the Bengal Tiger mount. A video surfaced online of where you could actually get a hold of this. People would be searching all over for this type of item. This was discovered through data mining, and people were trying to figure out how to get a hold of this. Now someone actually released a video on how to get a hold of this mount, and it caused a massive wide of controversy around how to get a hold of it. Now the common gist of the story was to go over to Stranglethorn Vale, and near Zul'Gurub in Stranglethorn Vale, if you did some wall hacking, you could have gotten up into this nice little alcove cave type thing, and inside there would be a troll, and she would sell you the mount, so to speak. in order to get hold of the Bengal tiger mount. Now, most people, after seeing the video about this, they would camp there for days upon days in order to get a hold of this mount. I myself, I remember wall hacking up there and getting up and waiting there for ages in order for her to spawn, in order to get hold of my Bengal tiger mount. But unfortunately I never got my Bengal tiger mount because it was not actually obtainable. Some people thought that she was on a respawn timer, so to speak, so it was either like a month, 6 months, a year, all that stuff. It wide vary on the respawn rate for this vendor, but the vendor never actually made it into the game also. This was done on a private server, and thus this was actually done on a private server, the video, and never actually made it into the live game. The Bengal tiger mount was in the game but never actually made it to live, and no one actually was able to get a hold of this. The only thing that is actually close to this is the Swift Zillion tiger with a few armor pieces to it. But other than that, the Bengal tiger mount is not obtainable, unfortunately. So I would have loved to have this mount in vanilla, but at the end of the day, it was not possible to get a hold of this. Coming in at number 4, we have the original ASHBRINGER. Not the one from Legions, however, because the one from Legion, anyone with a rep paladin can get a hold of the ASHBRINGER. No. The original ASHBRINGER was originally found through data mining, such as the Bengal tiger. Now, this actual item was one of the most crazy treasure hunts in the entire game. Now, along with a lot of lore about the ASHBRINGER and what it was actually used for, like turning all of the undead into ash upon one swing and having this massive lore around it, people were trying to see on how to get a hold of this as soon as it was found through data mining. There was an NPC near Light's Hope Chapel in the Eastern Plaguelands who would tell you somewhere of a cryptic message about the ASHBRINGER, and that is all we had at that point. Most people were trying to figure out where it was actually located and how to get a hold of this, and this was at the time hard to get a hold of until someone in Arathi Basin managed to get a hold of the Nat Pagel's Journal for Extreme Angling. Now, this could only be gotten a hold of in the Arathi Basin drops of just looting random things, and you would get a hold of this. Now, this item in particular was used in Legion in order to get a hold of the corrupted ASHBRINGER type-esque skin, so to speak, but other than that, it was actually thought of in vanilla as a way in order to get a hold of the ASHBRINGER even further. Now, upon the release of the Blackwing layer, it actually came to the idea that it was a 1% drop chance or less from Nefarian, the last boss of the Blackwing layer. Unfortunately this item was actually not obtainable even in the game whatsoever, but people still were trying to find this item, so to speak, as they thought that Nefarian would drop the item altogether, and thus you were able to get a hold of this. With the Nat Pagel Guide to Extreme Angling, people thought that you could fish it up in the Western Plaguelands, and thus a massive treasure hunt of people just fishing in the Western Plaguelands for this particular item, so to speak. Now, most GMs were able to get a hold of this item, but not anyone else in the game. This is mainly because the GMs had the access towards these things. Now, going on with the ASHBRINGER quest, there was a thing called Timmerland's Phylactery. Now, this was also theorized to go along to get a hold of the ASHBRINGER, as the Archmage Timmerland was the person who crafted the ASHBRINGER. And now he was a part of the Kirin Tor, and also there was something found within this particular cave. Now, you would find a cave full of oozes, and one of them would be the only one with a mana bar. If you went and killed these oozes, you would get an item called Timmerland's Phylactery, giving rise to the belief that the Archmage Timmerland was actually a lich, so to speak, because anyone who is a lich has a phylactery, so to speak. And that is where, and a rough idea on what a phylactery is, a phylactery is a place where a lich goes after he dies, and then he comes back upon a dice roll. If you've ever played D&D, you'd understand what I mean. Other than that, guys, that is pretty much all I have to say for that one, so let's go into number 5. Coming in at number 5, we have the last item on our list, and that is FROSTMOURNE. FROSTMOURNE was the quintessential item everyone wanted after seeing the Frozen Throne in Warcraft 3. Now, I always wanted this. As soon as I saw Arthas grab a hold of FROSTMOURNE, I was like, I need this weapon on my paladin. Because, yes, in vanilla, I played as a paladin. But that being the case, FROSTMOURNE, when I originally saw it on the forums, that it was found through data mining, I originally went, how do I get a hold of this item? I remember myself specifically trying to figure out and scouring through the internet, trying to find out how to get a hold of FROSTMOURNE. As soon as I saw it, I was like, I have to have this item. And this is the one that I really went ham for trying to find. But alas, I never got hold of FROSTMOURNE, even in Wrath of the Lich King, because it was not obtainable within the game. Now this item, so to speak, is a massive lore piece when it comes to World of Warcraft in general, and it is one of the most iconic weapons of World of Warcraft. Now, a general consensus of why the FROSTMOURNE was never really put into the live game is because it's that much of an iconic lore item that not everyone should really have, so to speak. That's the kind of gist I get on why the item's never put into the game, so to speak, and thus is why I've put it at number 1 on this list, as opposed to the ASHBRINGER, which the ASHBRINGER made a massive treasure hunt, so to speak, but FROSTMOURNE for myself was one of the biggest like search journeys trying to find this actual item. I remember spending days upon days trying to figure out how to get a hold of this, and because it was so iconic to me, I've put it at the top of this list, which is my list, so I'm putting it at the top. Now, that being the case, guys, that is the 5 items that are not obtainable within WoW. Have a lovely rest of the day, guys, and I shall see you in the next video, which will be tomorrow. Have an awesome day, guys, and I shall see you soon.